Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast.
Yeah.
Today we are doing a deep dive into Goldco fees,
Oh, yeah.
which is something that is super important for you. If you're an American retiree, we are looking at helping you make the right choices about your retirement savings.
Absolutely.
And hey, if you want a little bit of extra guidance, we've got a free checklist over at goldirblueprint.com, exclusive at Kanish.
Right.
And that's designed to help you pick the perfect Gold IRA company.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. But right now, we want to get down to business.
Absolutely.
And I've got an expert here who eats, sleeps, and breathes precious metal investments.
That's me. And believe me, it's a fascinating world once you get into it.
I bet. So first things first, what exactly IAS Goldco, and why should our listeners care?
That's a great question. So Goldco specializes in gold IRAs.
Okay.
Think of it like a regular IRA, but instead of stocks and bonds, you are holding physical gold or silver.
Gotcha.
And what's really cool about this is that it's all self-directed,
Uh-huh.
but it's still totally compliant with IRS regulations. So you can sleep sanely at night knowing that your nest egg is safe and sound.
Okay, so it's not like, stashing gold bars under your mattress.
Not quite.
Which, honestly, I've always wondered about.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well, this is all above board, and it's
Yeah.
really designed to add a layer of protection against those market ups and downs. Inflation has been a real beast lately,
Oh, yeah.
and Goldco helps you diversify your portfolio and potentially sidestep some of those risks.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like having a secret weapon against economic turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room, fees.
Sure.
Everyone wants to know what it costs, right?
You're absolutely right. Fees are part of any investment,
Right.
and Goldco's no different.
Sure.
But here's the good news.
Okay.
They're totally upfront about it. Transparency is their middle name.
Okay.
Basically, you have three main types of fees. You have an initial setup fee, you have an annual storage fee, and then you have transaction fees.
Okay. That sounds pretty straightforward, but I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
Sure.
Can we unpack each of those a little bit?
Absolutely.
Let's start with that initial setup fee.
Okay.
What exactly does that cover?
That's a good question. Think of it as the cost of getting the ball rolling.
Okay.
It covers things like creating your account, any custodial fees, making sure everything's compliant with regulations, and even those initial consultations to make sure you're on the right track.
Okay.
It's basically like a VIP onboarding experience to get your goal IRA journey started off, right?
So it's like a one-time fee to get everything set up and personalized.
Exactly. And the exact amount can vary a bit depending on a few things, like the complexity of your investment, how much you're putting in, and any extra services that you might need.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's best to have those conversations up front, and you know exactly what to expect.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about those annual storage fees.
Okay.
This is where it gets interesting, right?
It does. You're not going to keep your gold bars at home under the bed. You need a secure and insured place to store them. Goldco works with top-notch bullion depositories.
Okay.
Basically Fort Knox level security.
Wow.
And those annual fees cover the cost of keeping your precious metals safe and sound.
I can imagine peace of mind doesn't come cheap, especially when we're talking about, something as valuable as gold. What kind of percentages are we looking at for these storage fees?
Typically, it ranges from about 0.5% to 2% of the total value of your gold.
Okay.
It might sound like a lot, but remember, this covers 247 security insurance in case of any unforeseen events, and just the overall maintenance of a high-security facility. It's like having a personal bodyguard for your gold.
That's a great way to put it. So it's more than just renting a vault. It's a whole security package.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, let's tackle those transaction fees. When do those pop up?
These are the fees you'll see when you're buying or selling gold within your IRA.
Okay.
They can definitely impact your overall returns, so it's something to be mindful of.
So the more you buy and sell, the higher those fees.
That's the general idea. It's like a brokerage fee.
Okay.
The actual amount will depend on what kind of precious metal you're trading, the volume of the transaction, and even how the market's doing at that particular time.
Right.
For someone like making lots of short-term trades, those fees can add up quickly.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're in it for the long haul, like most retirement investors are, the impact is usually much smaller.
That's a good point. This might be a good time to remind our listeners about that free checklist we've got over at goldirblueprint.com for Persona exclusive. It's a great way to compare different gold IRA companies side by side and see how their fees stack up.
Absolutely. I always recommend doing your homework and comparing those options before making any big decisions.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your retirement savings.
I couldn't agree more. When it comes to fees, there's always that nagging question in the back of my mind. Are there any hidden fees?
Right.
We should be aware of things lurking in the fine print.
That's a smart question to ask, and honestly, it's something that you should always be aware of with any financial product.
Hmm.
With Goldco, they really emphasize transparency. They
Mm-hmm.
want you to feel confident and informed every step of the way,
Right.
but it never hurts to be extra cautious.
Hmm.
Don't hesitate to ask about any potential fees that might not be immediately obvious,
Yeah.
like account setup fees,
Yeah.
management fees, or fees related to transferring your assets.
So it's always best to get everything in writing and clarify anything that seems unclear or confusing.
Absolutely.
After all, it's your hard-earned money, and you have the right to know exactly where it's going.
Exactly. A little due diligence goes a long way.
Yeah.
And any reputable company like Goldco will be happy to answer your questions and address any concerns you might have. They want you to feel comfortable and confident in your decision.
That's reassuring to hear. Okay, we've covered the fee landscape pretty thoroughly. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the bigger picture. Why would someone choose to invest with Goldco in the first place? What are the potential advantages that make this kind of investment attractive?
That's a great question. And there are several compelling reasons why people are drawn to Goldco.
Mm-hmm.
The three big ones that come to mind are protection against inflation, portfolio diversification, and potential tax benefits.
Okay.
These are pretty big perks that can really make a difference in your long-term financial well-being.
Those are some serious advantages.
Yeah.
Let's dive into each one of those a bit further, starting with inflation protection.
Sure.
That's a hot topic these days, with prices seemingly going up everywhere you look.
Yeah.
How does Goldco address that concern?
Well, gold has a long history of being a safe haven asset, especially during times of economic uncertainty.
Right.
Think of it as a hedge against inflation.
Okay.
When the value of paper money goes down, gold tends to hold its value or even go up. It's like a store of value that can help you preserve your purchasing power when things get a little shaky.
I heard that during the stagflation of the 70s, while traditional investments were tanking, gold saw gains of over 800%.
Wow.
It seems like it can be a real lifesaver when the economy gets rocky.
Exactly. And that's just one example. Throughout history, gold has consistently demonstrated its ability to weather those economic storms.
Yeah.
It's like an anchor of stability in a sea of uncertainty.
Okay, that makes so gold is like an insurance policy against inflation.
Yeah.
But it's not just about playing defense, right? You mentioned portfolio diversification. How does investing with Goldco contribute to a well-rounded investment strategy?
Diversification is all about not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
It's about spreading your investments across different asset classes to reduce your overall risk and improve your chances of success.
It's like that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because if you drop that basket, you're in trouble.
Precisely by including a mix of assets in your portfolio, things like stocks, bonds, real estate, and yes, precious metals,
Right.
you create a more balanced and resilient investment strategy. If one asset class takes a hit, the others can help cushion the blow.
Yeah.
It's like having a diversified team of superheroes protecting your wealth.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So if one superhero has a bad day, the others are there to save the day.
Case.
Okay, so diversification is about spreading the risk and creating a more stable foundation for your investments. Now let's talk about that third advantage. You mentioned tax benefits. What kind of tax breaks can investors expect when working with Goldco?
This is where things get really interesting, especially for those looking to optimize their retirement savings.
Okay.
Gold IRAs offer some pretty significant tax advantages.
Yeah.
One of the most attractive features is tax-deferred growth.
Okay.
This means that any gains you make within your gold IRA aren't taxed until you withdraw them during retirement.
So you're essentially delaying those taxes and letting your money grow tax-free for years, maybe even decades.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a powerful way to maximize your savings over the long term, and depending on the specific type of gold IRA you choose and your individual circumstances, you might even be eligible for tax-free distributions when you finally retire.
Wow, that's a game changer.
It is.
Especially for those who are, looking to minimize their tax burden during their golden years.
Yeah.
It sounds like a smart strategy for anyone who wants to, keep more of their hard-earned money.
It is, and Goldco can guide you through all the nuances and help you choose the best gold IRA to fit your specific needs and goals.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good at making sure you're taking advantage of all the tax benefits available to you.
It's great to have that kind of expert guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got protection against inflation, portfolio diversification, and potential tax advantages. It sounds like there's some really compelling reasons to consider Goldco, but as with any investment, there are always risks to consider. What are some of the things that investors should be aware of before diving in?
You're absolutely right. No investment is completely risk-free, and gold IRAs are no exception.
Right. There are a few key risks to be mindful of. First, the price of gold can fluctuate.
Okay.
Second, there's the potential for liquidity issues.
Gotcha.
And finally, there's always counterparty risk to consider.
Oh, okay.
It's crucial to understand these risks before making any decisions.
Okay, let's break those down one by one, starting with fluctuations in gold prices. What do investors need to know?
Just like any commodity, the price of gold can go up and down.
Right.
Based on a bunch of factors, things like economic conditions, global demand interest rates, and even political events can all influence the price.
Right.
While gold has historically been a solid performer over the long term, there can be periods of volatility.
So it's not a guaranteed upward trajectory. There will be dips and spikes along the way.
Exactly. We saw this play out during the 2008 financial crisis when gold prices surged dramatically as investors sought a safe haven asset.
Yeah.
But there have also been times when gold prices have declined. The key is to have a long-term perspective and understand that fluctuations are a normal part of the market cycle.
It's all about riding out those waves and focusing on the bigger picture. Now, let's move on to liquidity issues. What does that mean in the context of gold investments?
Liquidity refers to how easily you can convert an asset into cash.
Okay.
While gold is generally considered a fairly liquid asset, there can be situations where selling your gold quickly at a desired price might be a bit challenging.
Right.
This can happen during periods of market turmoil or economic uncertainty when everyone's trying to sell at the same time.
So it's not as straightforward as selling stocks or bonds, which can be done with a click of a button.
Not always. There's a bit more to it.
Okay.
And if you need to access your funds quickly, you might have to settle for a lower price than you'd like. It's important to factor that into your decision-making process.
It's definitely something to keep in mind. Finally, let's tackle counterparty risk.
Mm-hmm.
What is that, and how does it apply to Goldco?
Counterparty risk basically means the risk that the other party in a transaction might not be able to fulfill their obligations. In the case of Goldco, you're trusting them to manage your investment responsibly and securely.
So you're relying on their expertise and their reputation.
Exactly. Goldco has a strong track record and a solid reputation in the industry.
Okay.
But it's always wise to do your homework, check out their financial stability read reviews, and make sure you feel comfortable with their level of expertise and professionalism.
That's sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? This might be another good time to remind our listeners about that free checklist we've got over at goldirblueprint.com/exclusive.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic resource for comparing different gold IRA companies, including their financial stability and track record.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the equation and helps you make an informed decision.
Taking the time to research and compare those options is crucial for finding the right fit for your needs and your peace of mind.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the specifics of Goldco's fee structure,
Right.
the potential benefits of investing with them, and the risks that investors should be aware of. Now, for those who are intrigued and want to learn more, what are the steps involved in getting started with Goldco? What does that process look like?
The first step is super easy. Just reach out to a Goldco representative. They're incredibly knowledgeable and friendly, and they can answer all your questions and help you figure out if a gold IRA is right for you.
Okay.
You can schedule a free consultation on their website or give them a call. It's a no-pressure way to get the ball rolling.
That sounds easy enough. What happens after that initial consultation?
If you decide to move forward, the next step is to open a gold IRA account.
Right.
This involves filling out some paperwork and choosing the specific precious metals you want to invest in. Goldco offers a variety of options, including gold coins, gold bars, and other precious metals that meet IRS requirements for self-directed IRAs.
So you have some choices to make about how you want to structure your investment.
Absolutely. Goldco's team will walk you through the selection process and help you make informed decisions based on your goals and risk tolerance. They'll also handle all the details of purchasing and storing your precious metals, ensuring that everything is done securely and efficiently.
That's great. It sounds like they really hold your hand through the entire process, which can be a huge relief, especially when you're dealing with something as important as your retirement savings.
They do. They're committed to making the experience as smooth and stress-free as possible so you can focus on what really matters, securing your financial future.
I love that peace of mind is priceless. Yeah. Well, we've covered a ton of information today.
We have.
And I'm sure our listeners are buzzing with all sorts of new insights. Before we move on to the next section, I want to make sure we hit those key takeaways one more time.
That's good. Let's recap what we've learned so far.
All right, so Goldco is a company that specializes in gold IRAs,
Right.
offering a way for individuals to diversify their retirement portfolios with precious metals like gold and silver.
Right.
We talked about the importance of self-directed IRAs and making sure they comply with all those IRS regulations. And of course, we dug deep into Goldco's fee structure.
Right. We broke down those initial setup fees, the annual storage fees, and those transaction fees that can pop up when you're buying and selling.
Yes, sir.
Remember, transparency is key, and it's crucial to understand those fees up front before making any decisions.
We also explored those amazing benefits that make Goldco so attractive to investors. We talk about protection against inflation, the importance of portfolio diversification, and the potential for some pretty sweet tax advantages.
Absolutely.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
We also discuss the risks involved,
Yes.
like those fluctuations in gold prices, the potential for liquidity issues, and that ever-present counterparty risk.
It's all about weighing those eventual benefits against the risks and deciding if a gold IRA aligns with your individual financial goals and risk tolerance.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And for those who are ready to take the plunge, we outline the steps for getting started with Goldco. Just reach out to a representative, open an account, pick your precious metals, and bam, you're on your way to a potentially more secure and diversified retirement.
It's a journey, but it's one that can lead to greater financial peace of mind down the road, and who doesn't want that?
Absolutely. Before we move on, one final reminder to our listeners. Don't forget to grab that free checklist over at goldirablueprint.com. First H1 exclusive. It's packed with valuable information to help you compare different gold IRA companies and make the best decision for your golden years.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, it's like having a personal guide through the sometimes confusing world of gold IRAs.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to planning your future.
You know, as we've been talking about all these different aspects of Goldco, I keep coming back to that question we always encourage our listeners to ask, what does this all mean for E?
Right?
How does this translate to my individual financial life?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And ultimately, it's one that each listener has to answer for themselves.
Yeah.
But that's also what makes this whole process so exciting. It's about taking control of your financial destiny and shaping it in a way that aligns with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future.
I love that perspective. It's not just about numbers and spreadsheets. It's about creating a life you love. And that includes feeling secure and confident in your financial decisions.
Exactly. And that's where knowledge and understanding come in. The more informed you are, the more empowered you feel to make those choices that are truly right for you.
So true. And that's what we've been trying to do today with this deep dive into Goldco.
Right.
We've laid out the facts, explored the benefits and the risks, and hopefully given our listeners the tools they need to make informed decisions about their retirement savings.
I think we've accomplished that. We've provided a solid foundation of knowledge, and now it's up to each individual to take that information and apply it to their own unique circumstances.
Yeah,
There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to retirement planning.
absolutely. It's all about personalized decision-making, and that's why resources like the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast and that fantastic checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive are so valuable. They provide that extra layer of guidance and support to help you navigate this complex world and find the path that's right for you.
Couldn't agree more. Those resources can save you so much time, energy, and potential heartache down the road.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners? What's the one thing you'd want them to take away from this conversation?
I would simply encourage everyone to stay curious, stay engaged, and keep learning.
Yeah.
The world of finance is constantly changing, and the more you know, the better equipped you'll be to make smart decisions that lead to a brighter financial future.
Excellent advice. And remember, retirement planning is an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
It's not a one-time event.
It's a journey.
So stay informed, stay proactive, and never be afraid to ask questions. Your future self will thank you for it.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive into Goldco. We'll be back soon with more insights and tips to help you navigate the world of gold IRAs. Until next time, stay informed, stay proactive, and as always, keep those retirement dreams shining bright.
Shining bright is the goal. We'll see you next time for part 2. You know, I think it's important to emphasize something we touched on earlier. Goldco isn't just about buying gold.
Right.
It's about strategically integrating it into a retirement plan.
That's a really good point. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's
Yeah.
about long-term thinking and building a solid foundation for your financial future.
Absolutely.
But how does that actually work? How do you go from, say, having a traditional IRA to incorporating gold into the mix?
That's where self-directed IRAs come in.
Okay.
They give you more control over your investments, allowing you to branch out beyond those typical stocks and bonds. It's like having the freedom to build your own personalized retirement portfolio, but with the added security of IRS regulations and expert guidance.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like you're taking the reins of your retirement savings and saying, hey, I want to explore other options like precious metals.
Exactly.
But I imagine there are rules and regulations around that.
There are, and that's where Goldco really shines.
Okay.
They're experts in navigating those IRS guidelines, making sure everything's above board and that your investment is protected.
Right.
They walk you through the entire process step by step,
Yeah.
so you can feel confident and secure knowing you're doing things the right way.
That sounds like a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah,
I bet it can be pretty intimidating trying to figure all that out on your own.
it can be. But with Goldco, you've got a team of experienced professionals in your corner guiding you through the process and answering all your questions along the way.
Right.
It's like having a personal financial concierge dedicated to your retirement success.
I like the sound of that. Now let's talk a bit more about the benefits of adding gold to your retirement portfolio.
Sure.
We touched on them earlier, but I think it's worth exploring them in a bit more depth, starting with inflation protection, which is a huge concern for many retirees on a fixed income.
Absolutely. Inflation can be a silent wealth killer,
Yeah.
slowly eroding the purchasing power of your savings.
Right.
But gold has this incredible ability to hold its value during those inflationary periods.
It's like a shield against that rising tide of prices.
Exactly.
But how does that actually play out in real life?
Let's imagine a scenario where inflation is at 5%.
Okay.
Your $100 today will only buy you $95 worth of goods next year.
Right.
But if you had invested a portion of your savings in gold, you might find that its value has increased enough to offset that loss in purchasing power.
Okay.
In fact, gold might even be worth more than $105 next year, effectively outpacing inflation and protecting your savings.
That's a powerful illustration. It's not just about preserving wealth, it's about potentially growing it even during periods of economic turbulence. Now, how about diversification? What are some specific examples of how gold can add balance and stability to a retirement portfolio?
Let's say your portfolio is heavily weighted towards stocks.
Oh,
That's great when the market's booming, but what happens when there's a downturn?
right.
Your portfolio could take a significant hit.
Yeah.
But if you have a portion of your savings in gold,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a buffer. Gold often moves in the opposite direction of stocks. So when the stock market is down, gold might be up.
Okay.
It's like having a built-in shock absorber for your portfolio.
That's a really smart strategy. Like diversifying your superhero team, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
So you've got your offense, the stocks that are aiming for high growth,
Exactly.
and then you've got your defense, the gold that's there to protect you when things get rough.
That's a great analogy.
And remember, diversification isn't just about minimizing losses.
Right.
It's also about maximizing opportunities.
Ex-
By spreading your investments across different asset classes, you're increasing your chances of capturing gains, regardless of which way the market's moving.
That's right.
I love that perspective. It's not just about playing defense. It's about being prepared for any scenario and having that flexibility to adjust your strategy as needed.
Exactly.
Now let's move on to those tax benefits.
Sure.
What are some specific ways that gold IRAs can help retirees save on taxes?
One of the biggest advantages is the potential for tax-deferred growth.
Okay.
Your investments grow tax-free until you start taking distributions during retirement.
Right.
This can be a huge benefit, especially if you're in a high tax bracket now and expect to be in a lower bracket during retirement. You're essentially delaying those taxes and allowing your savings to compound more effectively over time.
That's a smart way to maximize your wealth and minimize your tax burden. It's like giving your savings a turbo boost.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned earlier that some people might even be eligible for tax-free distributions during retirement. How does that work?
That depends on the specific type of gold IRA you choose.
Okay.
There are two main types, traditional gold IRAs and Roth gold IRAs.
Gotcha.
With a traditional gold IRA, your contributions are typically tax deductible, but your distributions are taxed as ordinary income during retirement.
Okay.
With a Roth gold IRA, your contributions aren't tax deductible,
Right.
but your qualified distributions are tax-free during retirement.
Okay, so there are different options depending on your individual tax situation and retirement goals. It sounds like it's important to consult with a tax advisor to figure out which type of gold IRA is the best fit for you.
Absolutely. A tax advisor can help you analyze your specific situation and make sure you're taking full advantage of all the tax benefits available to you.
Yeah.
They can help you develop a customized retirement plan that minimizes your tax liabilities and maximizes your savings.
Speaking of customized plans, that reminds me of that free checklist we've got over at goldirblueprint.com. First exclusive.
Yeah.
It's an incredible resource for anyone who's serious about exploring the world of gold IRAs.
I highly recommend checking it out. It's full of valuable information to help you compare different gold IRA companies, understand their fee structures, and make an informed decision about which company is the best fit for your individual needs.
It's like having a personal roadmap for your gold IRA journey now. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you said earlier about Goldco being like a financial concierge for your retirement.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? What are some of the specific ways that Goldco supports its clients throughout that process?
They really do go above and beyond to make the experience as smooth and stress-free as possible.
Mhm.
From the initial consultation to the account setup and ongoing management, they're there every step of the way, answering questions, providing guidance, and making sure you feel confident and empowered.
That's fantastic. It sounds like they take a very personalized approach, really tailoring their services to each individual client's needs.
They understand that retirement planning is a highly personal journey and there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
From-
They take the time to listen to their clients, understand their goals and concerns, and develop customized strategies that align with their unique financial situation and retirement aspirations.
That's reassuring to hear. It's great to know that there are companies out there that are truly committed to helping people achieve their retirement dreams.
Absolutely. And that's what Goldco is all about, empowering individuals to take control of their financial future and build a secure and fulfilling retirement.
I love that. Well, I think this is a good place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground, and I'm sure our listeners are eager to digest all this valuable information.
We'll be back soon with part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore some additional considerations and insights to help you make informed decisions about your retirement savings.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast for the final part of our deep dive into Goldco.
Yes.
We've covered a lot of ground, from fees to benefits to potential risks. But now I want to shift gears a little bit and address something that might be on our listeners' minds. We've talked a lot about the potential upsides of gold. But what about the flip side?
Right.
What are some of the potential drawbacks or challenges of investing in a gold IRA?
That's a great question, and it's important to consider all angles before making any investment decisions. One thing to keep in mind is that gold doesn't generate income like some other investments.
Oh,
You're not going to receive dividends or interest payments.
right.
Its value is primarily derived from its price appreciation.
So it's more of a long-term play, betting on that future value of gold
Exactly.
rather than a steady stream of income.
It's about capital appreciation and preservation of wealth, especially during those uncertain economic times. Now, another potential challenge is the storage aspect.
Okay.
While Goldco takes care of the logistics, some investors might prefer having more direct control over their assets.
I can see that there's a certain peace of mind that comes with having, physical possession of your investments.
There is, and it's important to weigh those personal preferences when making a decision. But with Goldco, you're working with reputable, secure depositories
Right.
that specialize in the safekeeping of precious metals.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having your valuables stored in a high-tech vault designed specifically for that purpose.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's a trade-off between convenience and control.
Yeah,
You're giving up some control over that physical storage
right.
in exchange for the convenience and the expertise of Goldco and their partner depositories.
Precisely. It's about finding the right balance for your individual needs and your comfort level. Now, another thing to consider is that gold can be a bit less liquid
Yeah.
than some other assets like stocks or bonds.
Right here.
While you can certainly sell your gold, it might take a bit longer to find a buyer and complete that transaction.
So it's not as simple as, clicking a button and selling your shares online.
Not quite. There's a process involved.
Okay.
But Goldco can help facilitate those transactions and ensure a smooth and efficient experience.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So it's important to factor in those potential liquidity considerations,
Right.
especially if you anticipate needing access to your funds quickly.
Absolutely. No, one final point to address is the emotional aspect of investing.
Okay.
Gold can be a very emotional asset. Its price can fluctuate based on sentiment and market psychology. It's important to stay level-headed and focus on your long-term goals,
Right.
rather than getting caught up in those short-term market swings.
That's excellent advice. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement or the fear of the moment.
Right.
But when it comes to retirement savings,
Mhm.
a calm and rational approach is usually the best course of action.
I couldn't agree more. It's about making informed decisions based on your financial goals and your risk tolerance, not on emotional reactions to market fluctuation.
You've brought up some really important
Yeah,
points that our listeners should definitely consider before making any decisions.
absolutely.
It's all about weighing those